still got 13 days to go, so plenty of time to spend revising subject material. So the exam is in person on campus in this building on level 2 in the, so level 2 is not the goods line, but the one below, and we're in the computer lab. So you'll be completing your exam on campus, and you'll only have the Canvas screen open. You won't be able to access anything else on the computer except for the Canvas portal that you log into. You have 2 hours to complete the exam. Please arrive 15 minutes early so we can get set up, make sure your computer's working properly, and then we'll start at or just around 12:30 p.m. So we'll go for 2 hours, and then you won't be logged out of the system at that time. Now the exam is closed book, which means you're allowed to bring in nothing. I think you can have water, and your student ID. Everything else needs to be in your bags, either under the desk or a supervising exam maybe at the front of the room. So you'll only have, you won't have an exam paper. The exam will be entirely on campus, so everything will be on your screen. So the format of the exam is 3 essay questions. So these questions are similar in style to what we have in the individual case presentation. So let's just go back to see the questions from today. So you can see that, for instance, all of these questions have, or most of them have multiple components to them. So same in the final exam, there may be like one major question and then a few things about what you need to reply to, or there'll be multiple questions that you need to respond to in your essay response. Now something that I like in these presentations today and many other presentations during the semester is where you explicitly refer to concepts learned in the subject. So I can tell easily when you are referring to things that don't really exist because you've used terms and nomenclature that has come out of ChatGPT or you found on some webpage on the internet, rather than thinking about the issue yourself and drawing on the concepts that we learned together in class. So the idea is that you draw on these concepts that we've talked about to a situation that's arisen in a case. So I like that all the responses to these questions here has clear links to the concepts that we talked about in the previous week. And please keep that in mind when thinking about how to respond to the questions. Now the revision you may have seen, I didn't put it as an announcement, but I will this afternoon, is that there's practice final exam questions available on campus now. These practice final exam questions, actually I'll open them up so we can have a look. Actually are also part of your assessment. So they are worth 5 marks. So again, they're not worth a lot. But they're kind of like free 5 marks because you want to do them right because you're revising for your final exam. And if you do them, you'll pretty much get 5 marks as long as you adhere to a couple of conditions. So here are the practice final exam questions under your learning portfolio. So let's click on that. And it says here, just break this down, that of how you're going to, there we go, how to get the 5 marks. So there's 4 things you need to do in order to get the 5 marks. So the first one is that you have to write a response to all the questions, all 4 questions. You have to refer to examples from the case when responding to the question. So the idea here is that the questions are not a general theory question where you just regurgitate stuff that we've learned in class. You apply the concepts to the case. Now this goes 2 ways. So you don't have to write 1,000 words about the concepts, but I don't want you just writing 1,000 words about what happened in the case. It's about demonstrating your knowledge of concepts to apply it to the case and explain why those things are related or how they address the problem. So sometimes you might want to quote from the case, but that can only be used in order to demonstrate the example or point that you're trying to make. Do not just copy large amounts of the case, that you're not going to get 20 marks in the question. But that's for the final exam. So here you just need to refer to parts of the case, 300 words for each. So that's sort of like a 1A4 page with a little bit of spacing, size 12 font, so not a huge amount. And they can't be plagiarized, so in your own language. And in the exam, you cannot use AI because it's locked down. You won't have the chance to. So in your revision, try and practice without using AI. These responses that you give, I'm not marking them based on how good they are, in a sense. I'm marking them based on whether you have done these things. Okay? So they're just revision, just practice. I'm not making huge assessments about your ability to answer those questions. I'm just trying to get you to do revision for the final exam. So there's 4 questions there, and they need to be done by next, when did I say? Wednesday night. So you've got 7 days to get those 4 questions done. The exam cases. So each set of questions is going to be related to one case study. These are the, okay, so this is wrong here. I should change this. I have a point there saying you're not going to get the cases. You are going to get the cases. So the cases will be on screen in the exam. You'll be able to scroll through them if you want. But I strongly recommend that you have a very good understanding about these 3 cases before attending the exam. Because you only have 40 minutes to write each response. That doesn't give you a lot of time to spend looking through the case. So, but, if you have a very good understanding of the case, you might go, oh, I remember a quote by one individual, or I forgot the CEO's name, that's really important, or, I forgot a specific thing that happened that I know relates to the point I want to make. So the case is there just for quick reference. Please do not spend time in the exam, large amounts of time reading the case. So I have a very good understanding about these cases, but it just means that it takes the pressure off you trying to remember specific figures or that, which often don't matter to your response in any case. Now, so these are the 3 cases for the main exam. Now, if for some reason you're unable to attend the exam on the 28th, you're extremely sick or there's some other significant issue that arises, there will be different cases for the exam that you end up sitting. The alternative exam is also in person and it occurs in the 2nd week of July. So just be aware that if you aren't able to sit this exam, there will be another exam, but it'll be in early July, and you will have to attend on campus to sit that exam, and there'll be different cases that I'll let you know a week or so before the exam takes place. So try and attend this exam if you can. These are the 3 cases. Try and spend as much time as you can getting familiar with them, and also think about what concepts might relate to the issues in the case. I mean, there's many questions I could ask about each one of these 3 cases, but they tend to lend themselves to certain concepts and issues that we've talked about during the semester. So although you don't know exactly what question I'm going to ask, you'll probably have a good understanding about the set of concepts that would relate to each one of these cases. The exam requirements, I've mentioned that each question contains multiple parts. They could potentially cover all topics covered during the semester. But again, use your intuition or your understanding to think about what concepts are going to be more important in these cases. And something that I have to really, really stress, because it happens actually no matter how much I stress it, but hopefully some of you, it will help some of you, read the question that's being asked. Okay, if you respond to a general question or a question that's not being asked, you do not get marks awarded for that. So it's better to have a concise, well thought out response to the question being asked than a massive response to a different question. Okay? So think about what you want to write before writing it down. You can put in some bullet points and then expand those points in Canvas. But again, a short 400-word response that's on point, related to the questions, is going to be better than a 1,000-word response to something unrelated. There's no minimum or maximum that you have to write, but I'd say 300 to 400 words. I set the 300-word limit for the revision questions because that's kind of the minimum amount that you need in order to fully cover the questions being asked. So if there's like 3 components and you have 100 words per component, anything less than that, you're just not going to be able to respond effectively to the question. So 400 words is about a good amount. So I've seen and given very high marks for responses around this 400-word mark. Exam preparation. Okay, so the lecture materials are the best way to start and think about the concepts. Textbook chapters obviously then expand upon each of those concepts. The cases that we've done each week and the questions associated with those three cases here, please revisit them. If you didn't present those cases, perhaps write responses to the individual case presentations that we had in those weeks. And complete the final exam questions on Canvas. And that's it. So we're there. So good luck with your exams. One thing I want to say is that for the exams, I'm not here to make your life hard. But it's my responsibility to ensure that you have at least a basic understanding of what we've been talking about. Because I honestly believe it's super important for you to understand going out there and managing your own business or being, the thing that I always think about is that in Australia, a lot of 10% or something of our income, or a little bit more now, goes into superannuation. Superannuation is controlled by huge institutions with their offices in the city, managed by people like you. And some of you will be managing by super, probably. And I want to make sure that you have good ethical principles, good understanding about accounting and related concepts that we talked about here. So, when you're a manager, you're designing controls for people that are in charge of all my retirement savings, it's going to be in good hands. So the exam is just to make sure, there to sort of as a, it's there to ensure that you have this basic understanding. Now, that in terms of the marks, there's no grading of the marks. There's no bell curve that we say, okay, only 2 of you can get high distinctions. There's none of that. If you all do great in the exam, I want you to do great, and I will give you great marks. Okay? I'm not here. There's nothing. Don't think that I'm trying to trick you in the exam. There's no tricks. It's honestly